In just 7 days' time, the attention of the world will fall on the Russian city of Sochi once more. It's the 11th Winter Paralympic Games. 700 athletes from 45 countries will be competing for 72 gold medals. And over the next 30 minutes, we're going to guide you through it all. Welcome to a Sochi special. A fantastic Winter Olympics are now behind us, but there's plenty more action to look forward to on the ice and snow. My name is Rachael, a former Paralympic swimmer, and I reported on London 2012 for Ch4. I'll be in Sochi, from where we'll be bringing you over 150 hours of elite winter sport. And to help you enjoy it all the more, during the next 30 minutes, our expert guests are joining me in the first part of the show. Nathan Stevens, part of the GB sledge hockey team in Turin in 2006 Paralympics, and he's also a former world champion in the javelin. And then we've got Michael McCready. He won a silver medal in Turin 2006 wheelchair curling, and then went on to skip in Vancouver 4 years ago. Nathan and Michael will both be part of Channel 4's Paralympic coverage. But guys, it's great to have you here to, whet our appetite. Nathan, you went to the Winter and Summer Paralympics. Beside the obvious, what's the difference between the two?
I think generally just the size of it. We felt really, really a part of the games in Turin, very small number of us. And when you went to Beijing, it just blew it out of the water. But the experiences were second to none. Both had their own little highlights, which made it all the more special.
You were obviously in London competing. You saw that home crowd get behind you. Do you think the Russians will do the same?
I really do hope so. See, London was such a fantastic Games for everybody, not just Britain. For the whole of the Paralympic movement, it had a massive impact. And hopefully Russia will be able to thrive and ride on the back of the success of London 2012 and really push Paralympic sport through winter and summer.
Well, let's get cracking on with that sport. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to guide you through all the sports in Sochi. Let's start with the crash and bang of ice sledge hockey.
This is simple. It's ice hockey on sledges. Same hits, same rules, same mindset. There is no backing down. The key difference is the equipment. Specially designed sledges with either 1 or 2 blades and 2 dual-purpose sticks for pushing and playing the puck. We'll see 6 players from each team on the ice at any time, including a netminder, and a total of 15 players make up the team. Expect full contact and full commitment in what is certain to be one of the game's biggest draws.
Nathan, Great Britain hasn't got a team in the ice sledge hockey, so who should we be looking out for?
Thanks for that little dig there. So Canada, USA are always the strong nations, always the ones to look out for. Canada are, coming back from a 4th place in Vancouver, so they really want to show the nation that they're back on form. But Russia, they've really put the work in and they've got a strong side now. So it's going to be a tight top 3, I think, between Canada, USA and Russia.
What different disabilities will be participating in this sport?
So sledge hockey is open to a number of disabilities. Basically anything with any minor impairment that stops them from standing up and playing hockey. So it goes from spinal injuries to amputees. There's even been one-armed goalkeepers in the past. So it's a pretty varied disability range.
But I could stand up and play ice hockey, but I have limited use of my left arm, so would I be able to play?
Yeah, because you won't be able to have full control of the stick with your affected arm. So there'd be a position where you'd sit in nets and use your weaker arm as a blocker and your good arm as a catcher. So there's always a way around it.
So is there no sort of point system like we see in wheelchair basketball?
Luckily, no. Every disability has their own little niche and brings something to the game. So, like me being a double leg amputee, I'm pretty quick and agile. I can get in and onto the net. For a paraplegic who has lost the use of their legs, their leg length then could then potentially be good for a defensive man who could cover more of the ice. So each disability brings something different to a team.
I might give it a go myself.
Try it.
So let's stay on the ice for our next sport. But this one couldn't be more different. It's wheelchair curling.
It's tactical. Wheelchair curling, the stone will be delivered with a delivery stick, and there are no sweepers, so your stone has to be accurate, because there's no one to help you out. Teams are made up of 4 players: the lead, the second, the vice, and the skip. And the teams are mixed, with each player throwing twice per end. The game is played over 8 ends. This is known as the roaring game. 10 teams are in Sochi, but who will be roaring the loudest will be down to whose nerve holds.
Michael, there it said it's the roaring game. Can you explain that to me?
The reason it's called the roaring game is the noise of a 44-pound piece of granite going up the ice continually, and the noise that it makes.
And how do they deliver those stones?
Well, we deliver the stones either with a delivery stick. When we deliver a stone, we have what's known as a buddy system. So I would deliver the stone, but my buddy would hold the wheels. So
they're behind you holding the chair?
Holding the chair, so that when we're pushing the stone forward, we don't drift back when we deliver.
What level of disability do people who play wheelchair curling have?
Like sledge hockey, if you're unable to play mainstream curling and you get a classification, then you can play our sport.
So as long as they're in a wheelchair when they're on the ice, that's what matters?
And they fulfil the criteria, yes.
First day, we're going up against our toughest opponents, Canada. How confident is the team going to be going into that match?
We don't fear them at all.
That's good.
We have played them twice this year, and they have won 1, and we have won 1. We may have an inside track, actually, with our new coach, Tony Zumak. He is Canadian, so he knows exactly what's happening over there. He's brought some new ideas to the Great Britain team, and we haven't played our full cards yet, and we're making great progress, having played in 6 competitions, won 3 of them, and runners-up in the other 3.
So we've still got more to come from Great Britain?
I believe so.
And as we heard in that piece, the teams are mixed, but Paralympics GB has the distinction of being led by the only female skip, and here she is.
Putting on a GB jacket to go to the Paralympics, I think, is the pinnacle of any athlete's career. So it certainly sends tingles up the spine. I'm certainly someone who is very competitive. I think having that kind of attitude has probably helped get me where I am today. I will be at the Paralympics, the only female skip. As the skip of the team, it's very much down to myself to call the game and make the decisions. So it's a very mental game. You've certainly got to be concentrating and be very aware of elements that come into your shot-making decision. When I came back from Prague with the silver medal, I went back into my class and the children were all very excited, and they'd made cards and they'd said silver wasn't bad. So I would love to go back and show them a gold medal.
What a great line about wanting to take a gold medal home to her school students. How realistic is that?
Aileen's the type of person that wouldn't really say that if she didn't really believe it. She has worked, and the team have worked so much in the last 4 years, I'm absolutely amazed. I think she'll be going down to the school, and I might even give her a lift down there myself.
What do they do to kind of gel as a team?
Well, for the first time in wheelchair curling for Great Britain, The team was selected way back in September, and that really, or the four were, and that made a big difference. They were able to play in competitions together, bond more easily, and the results, I think, have proved that that system has worked. I really think they're ready. They are ready.
I'm loving your confidence. Well, that's it for part one. Thank you, Nathan and Michael, for joining me. We're obviously going to be seeing a lot more of you over the games. And in part two, we have two more fantastic guests to look at the alpine skiing. It's the blue ribbon event of any Winter Games, and the rest of GB medal hopes. Don't go away. Welcome back to our Sochi special. My guests have morphed, and I now have two authorities on Paralympic skiing on the sofa, both of whom will be joining me in Sochi. First, Sean Rose, alpine skiing in Turin 2006 and Vancouver 2010, and TwoFour, who competed in Vancouver but narrowly missed out on selection to Sochi. Their loss is our gain. Part two is focusing on the snow, and we are starting with the exhausting Nordic skiing.
If you could get out of breath just by watching a sport, this is it. Nordic skiing consists of two disciplines, cross-country skiing and biathlon. Cross-country athletes compete over distances ranging from 2.5 to 20 kilometres. Throw into that the need to settle yourself and shoot at targets 10 metres away when your heart and lungs are screaming at you and you've got biathlon. Who wins will be all about taking the body places it has never been before.
We just heard in that feature how fit these guys are. We've not got anyone from Great Britain, but how impressive will the athletes be?
Well, give me gravity any day of the week. I mean, I get to the bottom of the mountain and I push to the lift and I'm blowing. And these guys and girls are doing it for hours on end. It's absolutely an insane amount of physical fitness they have.
What classifications will we see in Nordic skiing?
Well, unlike the summer, it's really simple. There's just the three classes. There's the sitting, the standing, and the visually impaired.
The visually impaired actually compete in the biathlon, but how do blind people shoot?
I think, fortunately for the staff, they don't use real bullets. And it's a special device that's fitted to the rifle, and it's an electroacoustic device. When they get into that target range, there's a certain noise that they recognise, and they're able to shoot, and it shoots a laser at the target, which is a slightly bigger target than the regular one. But again, the same amount of mental rehearsal, everything goes into it. It's just an incredible thing to watch.
There is a name that we probably will recognise, Tatiana McFadden. She is a wheelchair racer. She won 6 gold medals only last year at the World Championships, but we're now seeing her in winter sports. Why would she make the change?
Well, it's got to be that new challenge. She's had a rough upbringing. You know, she was in an orphanage till about 6-year-old. She never had a wheelchair.
And that was actually, sorry, that was in Russia, wasn't it?
That was in Russia, in St. Petersburg, an orphanage. She used to walk herself around on her hands, so she developed from that young age that amount of strength and power. But there's a lot of difference in the technique. Maybe she'll overcome it with just brute force and ignorance.
Well, we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on her. But finally, we come to a sport in which we are represented and hopefully some medal prospects. A Winter Paralympics would not be the same without alpine skiing.
Alpine skiing. It's the athlete against the mountain and the clock. In the Winter Paralympics, the alpine disciplines are downhill, Super G, giant slalom, slalom, and super combined, with many athletes competing across multiple disciplines. In all competitions, the winner is the competitor who, without missing any gates, records the fastest time over the course. In the alpine ski events, there are 3 separate categories in which medals can be won. Visually impaired, where the athletes ski with a guide, standing, and sitting. In Sochi, you'll see very little difference in the course skied by disabled and non-disabled athletes. In addition to the skiing, for the first time in Sochi 2014, we'll see snowboard cross, adding a new level of mayhem and no-holds-barred racing. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fast. And it's going to be full-on.
So there's 3 classifications in alpine skiing. You've got the visually impaired, the standing and the sitting. But within each class, some of the athletes' ability may actually differ. So how do they make it fair?
So within each classification, they then have a different factor, depending on your disability. And then your time is then changed slightly during the race. So the time that you see at the finish is the time that you get.
Tim, we can see your sit ski right here. I mean, that looks like quite a hard thing to be able to stay in.
Yeah, it's a real technical bit of kit, and you've got to have the suspension all set up right, and it's got to be all dialed in to give you the smoothest ride down the hill.
Is there any other equipment that is different to the able-bodied skiing?
Yeah, so as sit skiers, instead of poles, we have what we call outriggers. So they're little poles, a bit like crutches, with little flip-down skis, and that's used by the sit skiers and also the 3-trackers, so the guys with one leg. And we basically just use it for initiation. You're not really leaning on it. A lot of people think that you must need really big, strong arms for the skiing, but actually it's just there for balance, and you'll actually try and have it off the ground most of the time.
Another classification is the standing class. Will they have to be able to have great core control? Because if they're only using one leg, are they not very unstable?
Some of these guys are really fit, or all of these guys are really fit. So they're powerful, strong, and they've got the endurance as well.
And some of the advantages as well, if you only have the one leg, certain disciplines will actually suit you. Like slalom, it's more straight down the hill. They only have one ski to go round the pole rather than that extra width that 2 skis have got to go. Now, take that to downhill for the standing guys. If they have a single leg amputee, they have to go top to bottom at the G-force and the speeds and the length of these long downhill courses, and they have to absorb that with one leg. When they get to the bottom, their thigh is shot to pieces.
We've been talking a lot about speed. Is it dangerous?
Of course.
You wouldn't do it otherwise?
And that's why we do it. It's an absolute adrenaline rush. You know, everybody's got their own bits that they like. You know, if you are into the speed element side of it, you'll love the downhill, the Super G. If you're more of a technician, you're going to be more into the slalom and the giant slalom.
Talking of fear, most people would be fearful when they think of a visually impaired skier. You know, explain to me how athletes who have visual impairment can actually get into skiing.
The visually impaired guys are really impressive. They have a guide who will ski with them and will ski in front of them, and then they have a Bluetooth headset which they're communicating all the way down the course. And again, within that, there's 3 different factors, and there's the guys who are completely blind. They have blacked out goggles.
So they're literally skiing blind?
Literally cannot see a thing. And then their guide will have a radio pack, so they're actually then following the noise all the way down the hill. And then to the guys that can see a little bit more, and they can see a little bit about their guide, but they've still got to communicate all the way. If you're down the side of the course, you can hear them talking all the way down.
We do hear that Jade's guide in particular is quite vocal, yeah?
Yeah, Caroline Powell, I heard her back in teen, and she gets very excited. And I'm getting excited now because we're about to hear from a few of our medal contenders.
I'm Jade Etherington. I'm a visually impaired athlete on the British disabled ski team. I love skiing, I love the feel of it, and it's even better doing it with someone else. We never go out to win medals, we always go out to make sure that we're doing the best that we can in our performance.
Yeah. I'm Kelly Gallagher. I'm a visually impaired ski racer from Northern Ireland, and I compete in alpine skiing. Skiing is a feeling for me that I can't find in any other part of my life. My dream is to get that feeling at the bottom of the course with Charlotte, know that we couldn't have done anything better.
I'm Anna Turney and I'm an alpine ski racer. I race in a carbon fibre seat mounted on top of a motorbike shock on a single ski. We ski fast. In a downhill, you're talking 70 miles an hour plus. Certainly, when you see people in the mountains, sometimes they stop and look at you and just go, respect. Winning a medal would just be, you know, the ultimate dream, really.
We've never won a Paralympic gold medal in winter sports. Can these athletes do it?
Yes. We're both confident on that one, aren't we? This is probably the strongest team we've ever took to a Winter Paralympic Games. So I'm definitely confident it's going to happen.
What athlete have you got your mind set on?
It's going to be a tight one, because Jade's in the B2 category. Jade Etherington, her guide, their synchronisation, and it's absolutely
like
ridiculous. If you close your eyes, you would think they were sisters, wouldn't you?
But Jade's guide, Caroline Powell, she's only 19 years old. Is that not too much pressure for a Paralympic Games?
Well, you would think so, wouldn't you? But I don't believe that, because Jade's a school teacher and I think she keeps her right. And it works absolutely fantastic together. And as for Kelly Gallagher, I mean, Tim, you spent a lot more time with them this season. What sort of form are they on this year?
Kelly had a bit of an injury at the end of last season, but she's come back and they've trained really hard and they're on fire at the moment, so I think they're real contenders. I think it's been a real benefit having both of them there together, pushing each other, you know.
They're both help each other out?
They'll help each other out, you know. It's a real difficult one where it's an individual sport, but we're a team.
There is a third visually impaired athlete, Millie Knight, and she's going with Rachael Ferrier, but Millie is only 15. Can she really cope at such a big event?
Yeah, I mean, for Millie, we're not expecting medals for Millie, but it's going to be a great stepping stone for her, and she's a real hope for the future. And she's not just there as a wild card. She's there off her own back. She's got the results. She's come out and she's skied really well.
Well, another athlete who's been on the team for a while, Anna Turney, both of you have skied with her. She's also been to a Games, but only placed 6th. Do you think this year could be her medal chancing year?
Yeah, I'm really excited for Anna. I think she trains harder than anyone else. And, you know, this year something else has clicked. And I think she could be a real outside chance of the medal.
The technical skiing is fantastic. The only issue Anna's had in the past is putting that into practice in the race course. She's putting in World Cup podiums this season, so, you know, she's definitely in the mix.
Now let's talk about some men. Mick Brennan, he's going to be going in the sit-ski classification. He's a bit like you, he's ex-military. Will that mentality coming from that background help him?
Well, Mick lost his legs in a suicide bomb, but he also sustained a head injury as well. So he's got a few other things to worry about. Now, Mick is probably one of the most talented sit-skiers I've ever seen. You know, the angles he creates because he's a low level or he's got no spinal cord injury. I mean, he's absolutely incredible. But again, you know, he has this problem of when to ski smart. He just goes faster, 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 boom. But if he can control that and get across the finish line, then he's a good medal prospect. 2
more of our athletes making the Paralympic debut are James Whitley and Ben Sneesby. What can we expect from them?
So yeah, we've got a really young team, and Ben and James are both real natural talents. Ben's a real sportsman, and he's just a real natural talent on the sit-ski. So I think this is his first Games. You know, he's got to a stage where he's competing against the world's best, and I think the top 20 would be a really good result for him. And James has put in some really surprise results this year. You know, he's a big lad for only 16, and yeah, he's definitely one to look out for in the future.
I'm sure the rest of the team will be helping them out. But that's all we have time for. Plenty more from both Tim and Sean during Channel 4's coverage of the Games, which starts this Friday with the opening ceremony. I'll see you in Sochi. I can't wait.